A young mother of three vanishes from a remote California suburb.
He saw his wife's car by the side of the road with a flat tire.
And leaves a disturbing mystery in her wake.
Flat tire didn't look right to him.
Could she have been looking for a fresh start?
She had said that she just wanted to leave and disappear.
She could have just needed a break or had a break.
There's no way that she would leave her kids. Maybe she had been abducted from that vehicle.
There was a series of bodies being found.
She could be the victim of a killer that was killing younger women.
A family waits years for answers.
I started getting mad. I was afraid I might not be able to control myself.
Until detectives learn the truth may lie disturbingly close to home.
Maybe she had gone off with her boyfriend. He wanted to get rid of her.
This is a setup.
And I was totally shocked.
The youngest child said, I know why you're here. I think my mom's buried in the backyard.
Just north of the border with Mexico, the small town of Jamul offers breathtaking views of the majestic Southern California desert.
Jamul is known as East County, San Diego, and it's about as far east as you can get. The properties are large. You see a lot of rolling hills and oak trees.
The people are real friendly. They're spread out. They like their privacy.
But a few days before Christmas in 1991, the peace of the hillside community is disrupted when a throng of law enforcement descends upon a home on a normally quiet street.
On December 21st, 1991, investigators obtained a search warrant to search the backyard, hoping to find a woman who had been missing.
The property itself is a 4-acre piece of land with a house on it and a ravine behind the property. One section of the ravine was filled in. From an investigator's standpoint, you'd look at that and say, why would someone fill in just one 20-foot section of a ravine that's a natural runoff for water? Didn't really make a lot of sense.
The backhoe operator was able to dig a hole down there, probably 8 to 10 feet deep. He found a portion of a chain link fence down in the hole. It had been basically nailed into the ground with 2 wooden stakes so it wouldn't wash away if there was ever any flood.
As detectives step in for a closer look at their strange discovery, they spot something beneath the chain link fence that looks like a blanket.
The sheriff's detective pulled out a knife and dug around the cloth material found in the hole. She felt about it. Our forensic anthropologist was able to determine that it was a knee bone.
The detectives believe their gruesome discovery may finally end a dark mystery that has pained a family for 4 years.
The only identifying thing on the body itself was the clothing, but I was confident it was our missing person.
When you find a body in the backyard, you need to know who it is, but you're also wanting to know how this person died. What was it that led to them being buried so unceremoniously like this? It's not every day in San Diego County that you find somebody buried in the backyard.
We grew up in Southern California for most of our life. It was 68-degree weather. It seemed like year-round. It was a beautiful place to grow up. I'm the oldest of 6. Vicki was the second oldest in the family.
She was beautiful. Long, dark brown hair and a smile that just could melt your heart. She was just a beautiful young lady. Fun, adventurous, willing to try new things.
When she would do something that was really exceptional, we'd always say, there she goes, Vicki Valerie Best, 3 V's for victory.
Rivers' hometown of San Diego is also home to the U.S. Navy's Pacific Fleet. In 1975, at the age of 17, Vicky meets a sailor stationed there, Lieutenant Commander Leonard Eddington.
Leonard was aspiring to go into the officer corps.
She was
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and thank you for joining me for another true crime video. Today's case is recent, still unfolding. It's also extremely upsetting and frustrating because this senseless crime could have and should have been prevented at so many different levels, and it speaks volumes about the way the criminal justice system does not seem concerned with protecting victims. I've said it before and I'll say it again as many times as it takes to sink in. The justice system is broken and there needs to be changes made, or very preventable crimes like this one, they're never going to stop. In December of 2023, 22-year-old nursing student Lauren Johansson recorded an 11-minute video on her phone, with the resulting audio illustrating a terrifying and toxic domestic violence situation. Lauren's on-again, off-again boyfriend, Bryson Rivers, had driven her away in a car where he proceeded to threaten her and beat her within an inch of her life. "Hey, I'm going to be real to you," Rivers lectured a beaten and bloody Lauren. "If you move at all from the spot you're in, I swear to God, you ain't waking up to see tomorrow. So I suggest you cooperate and calm down." Rivers told Lauren that no one was ever going to find her, and he can be heard telling Lauren that her head was swelling up like a bowling ball. The audio also suggests that for most of the 11-minute video, Lauren was unable to speak due to the injuries inflicted on her by Bryson Rivers. Now, 23-year-old Bryson Rivers was arrested later that night, and his bond was initially set at $251,000. But several months later, he would be released from jail, and within a few days, Lauren Johansson would be found dead, beaten to death in the back seat of her car. We have a lot to talk about today, but before we dive in, let's have a word from the sponsor of today's video, HelloFresh. Get mouth-watering seasonal recipes and fresh, pre-measured ingredients delivered right to your door with HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. From the planning, shopping, and prepping to actually getting everyone to enjoy what you made, family dinners can be stressful, but they shouldn't be. They should be a time of fun and connecting. Because Lauren's out of town, she comes back. Her ex-boyfriend Bryson clearly knows she's out of town and knows when she's coming back, which means she's probably still communicating with him in some way, shape, or form, or he's stalking her physically, stalking her electronic communication. Maybe he has her email passwords, etc., so he knows when she's traveling, where she's going, and when she'll be back. And he makes it a point to be inside of her house when she gets back. And according to Nick Bell, Lauren's boyfriend at the time, Bryson Rivers, nailed the doors and windows shut, or somehow managed to secure the doors and windows shut inside the house so that when she got in, she wouldn't have an easy time of getting back out. Now, what was he planning to do? Was he just gonna want to talk to her and convince her to get back together? Was there going to be some sort of hostage situation? Was he going to scare her and intimidate her into giving him another chance? Thankfully, we won't know ever what was going to happen, what Bryson Rivers had in store for Lauren, because Lauren's boyfriend Nick was there, and because Lauren knew Bryson's patterns, knew his behaviors, and sort of knew that nothing was off limits and he would do anything to get to her, she asked Nick to check the house before she went in by herself, and luckily she did that, and luckily Nick found Bryson hiding under Lauren's bed. What an absolute loser. And so Nick's like, you gotta get out of here. Bryson Rivers takes off, but is he happy about it? No. He's not going to be happy about it. He's not going to be happy that he didn't get to do what he wanted to do. He's not going to be happy that Lauren has somebody else there who's protecting her, who's standing as a boundary or an obstacle between Bryson and Lauren. And he's not going to be happy that he was sort of shown up and somebody got the better of him. By this point, it would seem like Lauren was done with Bryson Rivers once and for all. But as she and Nick got closer, Bryson grew more and more angry. And Nick said, quote, Lauren told me stories about how he had beaten her and stalked her. I was never going to stand for that. He was a coward, and there was no way he would step to me. But he would come back at nighttime and watch us through the windows or follow us around. Lauren had called the police on him many times in the past. We had to get cameras. There was never a moment of peace for the first couple of months, end quote. Even though this obviously wasn't the ideal situation to start a new relationship in, Nick Bao was smitten with Lauren. And despite her baggage, he wanted to love and protect her forever. In August of 2023, the couple went on vacation to Miami together. And there on the beach, Nick dropped to his knees and asked Lauren to marry him. He said, quote, Lauren was like a girl from a fairy tale, beautiful from head to toe. From the way she smiled to the way she talked and carried herself, I asked her if she would be my wife, my life partner, and my best friend. She said yes. Wow. End quote. After so long of having a partner who said he loved her but who hurt her, a partner whose words never matched his actions, Lauren seemed to have finally found a healthy relationship with a man who valued and even seemed to revere her. Not only that, she was doing well in college. She was given a place in the dean's list. She was part of the National Honor Society. She was on her way to achieving her dreams of being a nurse and having a happy, relationship, a happy marriage, eventually have some kids, settle down, have a good life. So obviously, her fiancé Nick was stunned when after a few months, their engagement ended because he found out that Lauren and Bryson were romantically involved again. Nick said, quote, Bryson was her first true boyfriend. He had taken advantage of her and her family for so long that he knew how to get to her. A good bit of my things were still at her house, and when I went back to check on her, he jumped out of a closet and aimed a gun at my forehead. I grabbed the weapon, turned it on him, then disassembled it. I told him there would be no issue and that I'd leave. I left the gun disassembled in the middle of the floor, end quote. And maybe Nick would regret that because this gun, it appears, is going to pop back up in this case. So Lauren's back with Bryson, sort of, I guess. They're going to work things out. And in December of 2023, Lauren and Bryson took a trip to Nashville, Tennessee. They visited the Art Museum on Broadway. They played a few games at the Topgolf near the Cumberland River. And then they returned to their Airbnb before heading back out to watch a football game at a local bar. But allegedly, while they were at the bar, Bryson accused Lauren of flirting with and then even having sex with a bartender while she'd been in the bathroom. And so Bryson and Lauren left the bar as their argument escalated. It seems that Bryson got Lauren into their rental car and then he drove off and he grabbed her phone and he kept driving and he wouldn't stop. And then Bryson sort of alternated between threatening Lauren, choking Lauren, and beating Lauren viciously. Eventually, Bryson would pull over in a parking lot, and Lauren would later tell police that they were there for about an hour while he continued to beat her to the point where she almost lost consciousness. She said she was screaming and kicking, and she would hit the car horn every time she saw a vehicle pass them. But then Bryson held his forearm against her throat until she saw black and got dizzy. Lauren recorded 11 minutes of this harrowing situation on her cell phone. We don't have the actual recording, but it exists. Many news outlets were allowed to listen to it and take notes. They just weren't allowed to duplicate it or replicate it or record it and play it for anyone else. And according to these news outlets, here's what happened. And please keep in mind, this is a small portion of what Lauren experienced that night. 11 minutes out of at least an hour. So Bryson Rivers told Lauren, quote, if you move at all tonight, I swear to God, you're not going to wake up tomorrow. I suggest you cooperate and calm down. I literally scheduled marriage counseling for us. Do you realize that? Bite me, bitch. I dare you. End quote. Bryson also told Lauren, quote, "All I gotta do is drive 15 minutes outward and I can drop you off in the woods, right? And no one will ever see you again," end quote. The Nashville Banner, one of the media outlets who was allowed to review the audio recording, claimed that the sounds coming from Lauren at that time were unintelligible. And although it's not clear what's happening during that 11 minutes, Lauren can be heard choking for long stretches, and Bryson Rivers can be heard describing Lauren's physical condition, telling her that she looked as if she was hemorrhaging tonight, and later telling her that her head was swollen up like a fucking bowling ball. Bryson Rivers also makes mention of past incidents of abuse, saying, quote, "You know, whenever I hit you last and I beat your ass because of your crying, this is the same situation," end quote. At one point, Rivers also mentions that he was going to take his own life, saying, quote, "I'm not trying to pretend like I'm being a fucking great person right now, so when I shoot myself and blow my head off in that apartment tonight, and you look like this, everyone will understand," end quote. And he also said, quote, "I have mental problems, I have issues. I've been holding everything back, trying to work with you," end quote. Now, just reading these words and understanding a very, very small portion of what Lauren was going through in that car, it's traumatic. It's hard to think about, hard to put yourself in her shoes. I can't imagine how horrible it would be to hear this audio, by the way, hear his voice saying these things, hear her whimpering and crying helpless in the background. But not only that, how completely terrifying it would have been for Lauren to be trapped in this small space with a man who was not only saying these things to her, but continually beating her and choking her at the same time. Now, right near the end of the recording, Lauren can be heard begging, quote, "Help, help. I can't see at all. Baby, I just want to go home," end quote. Now, it's not exactly clear how the Nashville Police Department became aware of the situation. Some outlets report that Lauren was able to call her family and that she was screaming to them that her boyfriend was trying to kill her, and they called the police. Others state that Bryson had called his mother, Chelsea Rivers. Chelsea heard screaming in the background of the call, and then Chelsea called Lauren's father, Lance, who called the police. But either way, officers arrived to the parking lot where Bryson and Lauren were parked, and they saw a blue car with fogged up windows. Metro Police body camera footage shows Lauren using her hands to bang on the passenger side window for help. And when an officer opened the door, Lauren ran outside wearing only her bra and underwear. The inside of the vehicle was reportedly covered in blood, as were both Lauren and Bryson, to the point where police were initially concerned that they were both injured. But they weren't both injured. Bryson Rivers didn't have a mark on him. It was Lauren's blood. And it was all over him, all over her, all over the inside of the car. She was an absolute mess. She had to be hospitalized for 2 days. And in the same blue rental car, the police found a pistol, and they found 2 rocks. All 3 of these items, these weapons, were covered in Lauren's blood. Lauren had been hit with these weapons, these items, over 100 times. And photos taken after the incident show Lauren covered in bruises, with her face so bloody and swollen. She's not recognizable. She didn't even look like herself. Both of Lauren's eyes were bruised and swollen shut. There's a pretty significant laceration at her hairline. There's a pretty significant abrasion above her left eyebrow that honestly looks like the butt of a pistol. It's kind of an indentation. Lauren's lips were swollen. She had bruises all over her arms and legs, which suggested she had tried to defend and protect herself against the onslaught of blows. And when police arrived, Bryson Rivers calmly asked them what was going on as they cuffed him. Reportedly, Lauren was crying and shaking. She wanted to talk to her father. She got on the phone with her father. And body cam footage reportedly shows Lauren telling the police officers, quote, "I was in a car with Bryson and he was holding me down, so I couldn't scream. I thought he was going to be okay," end quote. I think when she means I thought he was going to be okay, she meant I thought coming to on this trip to Nashville with him was okay. I thought he was not going to hurt me anymore. I thought he had learned his lesson after losing me. I thought he loved me, wanted me back, and was not going to hurt me anymore because that's what he told me, right? He told me he wasn't going to hurt me anymore. Now, reportedly, once again, this body camera footage exists. Lauren's father has seen it. Some media outlets have seen it. We do not have public access to it yet. But reportedly, at the end of this body cam footage, or at some point in the body cam footage, Lauren also states that her left eye wasn't opening. Now, it appears that after Bryson Rivers was arrested and he was booked into a Nashville jail, Lauren visited a domestic violence center. But then a few days later, she accepted a jail phone call from Bryson. Now, by this time, Lauren had already stated to the authorities that she didn't want to press charges against Bryson, but they had told her basically, listen, we have enough evidence between the body camera footage, between, the audio on your phone, between how you looked, we have enough evidence to go forward with this case against him without you having to press charges. And during this call between Bryson and Lauren, while Bryson was in jail, Bryson told Lauren, basically, get me out of here. He's like, I want to get out of here. I want to see you. I want to be back with you. He said, listen, tell the court that what you told them happened didn't happen. Tell them that you were drunk at the time of the incident when the cops show up. Tell them I didn't hit you. Tell them you hit your own head against the dashboard of the car, and then you continue to hit your own head against the car window. Bryson also said he was ready to return to Mississippi so that he and Lauren could be together, and that Lauren should inform the investigators that Bryson wanted to turn over a new leaf. He wanted to join the military, and apparently the Army wouldn't take him, so he was going to try to go to the Air Force. And Lauren should tell law enforcement, any prosecution, any criminal things going on with Bryson would make this difficult. Bryson told Lauren, quote, say that a military career will straight